Hi, I'm Hans from Dakota Angler and Outfitter in Rapid City, South Dakota, flyfishsd.com, and today we're going to tie one of my favorite patterns to tie. It's had a lot of different variations over the years. Got the idea from Steve Thornton, the British fly tyer, and it's kind of an epoxy scud pattern is the way it started out. Now we're going to call it the Chewee Scud, because I found a new material that I really like tying this fly with. I used to use latex. Now I'm using Chewee Skin, this UV coated, flashy, stretchy skin material that's just become available through Hairline Dubbin. I think it's produced by D's Flies out of Denver. And what I'm going to do is cut a strip of Chewee Skin to tie the fly with. That's about 1/8 of an inch wide. I've already started the fly just like we do the Hunchback Scud, and you can reference that earlier video for the Hunchback to get the shaping of this lead underbody that's already attached to the fly here. Got it tied into the top of the hook, and I've got a little bit of head cement on that to make sure it's not going to go anywhere. Got a nice thread covering on it. I've got my Chewee Skin strip here now. Cut that at an angle to tie it in. Before I do that, I got to tie in a couple of other things. Got some ostrich herl that I've stripped the last little bit off of the stem. Tie that on the underside of the hook. And then I'm also going to tie in, you can do it this way, you can just tie in a piece of 5X tippet too, but I like to tie in a bobbin that has some monofilament thread on it, some clear thread. Tie that in at the back of the hook. So now we've got mono thread on a second bobbin. And then we'll tie in our Chewee Skin. Like I said, I've cut this at an angle so we can tie that in. Right here at the back of the hook. This is the olive color. It's kind of a nice clear translucent with just a little bit of sheen. What we'll do is we'll take it, start at the back here, make sure that the dull side is down and the shiny side is up. We're going to wrap this over that lead underbody. Get some nice segments out of it there. Tricky part is when you come around the top there. Sometimes it helps to use a finger to hold that in place. Stretch it a little bit when you get to that last segment by the eye here. Tie that off. The only problem with this Chewee Skin, it's a little goofy to tie off. Once you've tied it off, it's usually a good idea to kind of reinforce that with a few additional wraps. Make sure you've got it nice and secure. What's nice about this, you can already see this lovely segmentation, that nice little pearlescent sheen. Now, what we'll do is we'll pull our ostrich herl under. You can use a lot of things for legs here. Probably my favorite is to do some a hen feather from a hen neck. To bring those forward. Tie them down on the underside of the hook. Oops, I cut my thread off on the front. But I like to use hen feathers for legs too. A little trickier. So for the video I opted to do just the ostrich turtle legs. Make sure that ostrich turtle is tied down. Half hitch it in place. Gotta watch it, I'm getting a little messy up there by that eye. Now, kind of the tricky part. Not so tricky part, I guess. It takes a little bit of practice, but you're going to take that mono thread and you're going to sneak that mono thread forward by just following those segments. You're going to tie right along the edge of the segment. Kind of fluff that ostrich turtle up as you go to make sure you're not trapping it down. Every once in a while it makes sense to take a look on the other side of the hook and make sure you're not trapping down or tying in across the segment. You want to follow those segments. Just follow that down, make sure you're getting those legs nice and fluffed as you go. When you get to the eye of the hook, do some more half hitches. Tie that down. Half hitch it and you can remove your thread at that point. You could put some antenna on this fly if you'd like. Doesn't really need it. Antenna would look cooler. Kind of give this a dorsal ventral, or not a dorsal ventral flattening, but vertical flattening there. You can see you've got those nice segments, that pearly sheen. You got some cool legs down here. Very, very Scud-like. The last thing I do is I take a little fly tight head cement. Just work that over the fly. Kind of give it some added durability. It's a nice flexible head cement that'll sink in there but also kind of hold everything together. And that's the finished Chewee Skin Scud. Tied the first one of these just a couple weeks ago, but fished it a couple of times on our tailwater and I caught most of my fish on this Scud pattern. Use this as my lead fly with a little midge larva as a dropper and caught almost all of my fish on this Scud pattern. So tie some of these up. You can tie them in this olive color or kind of a nice translucent orange color. It's a wonderful Scud pattern and it'll catch lots of fish, and usually I find on tailwaters my biggest fish take my Scud pattern over my little midge pattern, so it pays to fish Scuds. Again, I'm Hans Stephenson from Dakota Angler and Outfitter, and we just finished tying the Chewee Skin Scud. You can find this pattern and others at our website, flyfishsd.com. You can also find the materials to tie these flies on our web store, also located at flyfishsd.com.